So like people, documents can make a first impression, so the font you choose to use for your particular document will be very important in getting your audience to look at it, to read the content, and to absorb what you're trying to get across. Different types of documents should use different types of fonts. For example, we're going to work with this one called Home Recipes 1, found in the Chapter 3 folder of your exercises file. It's a 2-pager. We have some title information and some footnote information down here, as well as a letter to our customers. Very informal. It's coming from the Essential Veggies recipes for the kitchen department, and in this case probably don't need the most formal font. However, if we are constructing a legal document, we might not use a font that we're using in this particular document. So let's take a quick look at the ribbon. With the Home tab selected, we'll click the drop down here to take a look at some different fonts. At the very top you'll see theme fonts. When you choose themes, and we'll be talking about this later on in this title, certain fonts come with the theme, and you'll notice some are better for headings, others better suit the body, or what we would call body text. In our case, we might want to use Calibri Light for our heading, and Calibri a little further down for the letter to our customers. So let's do that. Let's click and drag across both lines of our title. We'll go back to that drop down. At the very top we'll choose Calibri Light. Now all we've done is change the actual font face. We can also adjust the size. There's a couple of different ways to do that. Currently you'll see 18 points. Click the drop down and you'll see a number of presets to choose from. Notice how it jumps by a single point, then it goes into doubles, fours, etc. Let's go to 28. I kind of like that. Maybe it's a little too big. Well, we can also use these 2 buttons next to our drop down for point size. And there is a keyboard shortcut, Control and the angle brackets, for bumping up or bumping down our size. So let's bump it down 1 and you'll notice it goes down to 26. Again down to 24. Let's go back up to 26. Now we can also do things like enhance our headings. We can add some special effects. For example, maybe this should be bolded. I like that. Should it be underlined? No, I don't think so. We'll click it again to remove the underlining. So that looks pretty good. We've changed the font. We've changed the size. I'm not sure about this TM here, the trademark symbol. If we click and drag over those two, you'll notice that sure enough from our font section on the ribbon, we're using something called superscript. But the size is not appropriate, so let's bump just that down now. I'm going to click that drop down and I'm going to go to, let's try 13. But that's not on the list. Okay, no problem. Just type in 13 and press enter, just like this. Alright, let's scroll down now to the second page. In here we can see we're using something different for a font. If we click anywhere in one of the paragraphs, it's Verdana and it's at 12 points. Looks like some of the text though is using some different settings, like Home up here. If we click there, still Verdana, 14 points and italics. If we really want to see what's going on with the formatting of our fonts in a document, there is a cool feature that allows us to see that formatting. Holding down your Shift key and press F1, that is function key 1. Over on the right you'll see the reveal formatting pane, and you'll see in this case where our cursor was flashing as the selected text. Now down below you can see the formatting. There's a font, there's a size, italic, black, the language. You'll also see paragraph formatting. All of it's visible to us now. We can even compare this to another section. So let's click the checkbox, and from here you can select something else, or just click in the document itself outside of one of those headings. Now in this case you can see the font difference is 2 points, italics, and not italic. Those are the only differences. I like that feature, especially when you get into longer documents with different sections, different formatting, and very handy. So when we're done with that, we can just simply close it up by clicking the close button. Alright, so now let's make this a little bit easier to read and maybe a little more formal. We'll select everything from Dear Customer to the end, where we see Jarrell Leonard, and when we do that, notice we get all of those formatting options at our fingertips, and a little pop-up. In other words, we don't have to go back up to the ribbon to start making changes. We can do it right from here. We'll click the drop down, we'll try a different font. Let's go to one that's very popular and formal, Times New Roman. Now one thing you can do is and you'll go down to the first T on the list. Now mine happens to be in a recently used section of my font list, but if you want you can scroll down, you can hover over different options. You'll see a live preview in the background. We'll scroll a little further down until we get to Times New Roman. There's a preview in the background, click it to select it. Now at this point you can see it's taking up less space. The size, maybe it should be consistent, so let's go back to our ribbon this time and change the size. We'll make it consistent, we'll click the drop down and we'll choose 12. Now everything that's been selected is at 12 points, so we don't have the headings inside our paragraphs looking a little bit different and standing out when they shouldn't be. Alright, that looks pretty good. A little more formal, still easy to read, and you can see it looks a lot different than our first page. So a number of formatting options available to you here from the font section of the ribbon. When the Home tab is selected, but keep in mind this new feature here in Word 2013 that allows you to select text and get those formatting options at your fingertips with this pop-up. I'm thinking now we should change the font color of our heading. Click the drop down, you'll see some theme colors. And if you're going to be using themes, like we will later on, it's best to use a theme colours. So if you change theme, colours will change. Choose a standard colour or one of the 16 million other colours you can choose from, more colours. And you'll be stuck with that colour, even when you change themes. I'm going to go for a nice blue, dark blue at the bottom of the theme colours here in the blue column. So that looks pretty good. Or by clicking anywhere on the page, and we want to save our changes before we continue on.